What you're about to hear is not just a courtroom story. It's the final chapter in the legacy of a man whose compassion changed the meaning of justice. This was Judge Frank Caprio's last case before his passing, and it has since become one of the most unforgettable moments ever witnessed inside a courtroom. An 84-year-old homeless veteran walks in, trembling slightly, accused of stealing a loaf of bread. To most, it seemed like a routine petty theft, but within minutes, it became something no one in that room would ever forget. Because when Judge Caprio looked past the charges and saw what this man had been carrying in his old battered shopping cart for over 2 decades, he froze. The courtroom fell silent. And then he did something that no judge in history had ever done before. What was inside that cart wasn't evidence of a crime. It was evidence of a life, a story of sacrifice, loss, and unbroken loyalty to a country that had long forgotten him. And when Judge Caprio realized the truth, he didn't just issue a verdict. He gave the world a moment of humanity that will echo for generations. I have to warn you, what happens next will break you in the best possible way. Because in this final act of compassion, Judge Frank Caprio didn't just uphold the law, he rewrote it with mercy. Before we witness his final decision, take 1 second right now. Press subscribe because this story, this legacy, deserves to be seen by everyone who's forgotten that justice can still feel human. This isn't just about an old man and a loaf of bread. It's about a judge who saw past guilt and punishment and found grace. This was Judge Frank Caprio's last case. And after this, you'll understand why millions call him the kindest judge who ever lived. This is not merely a legal matter. This is Judge Frank Caprio's enduring impact, his ultimate offering to mankind, and the events in the coming half hour will renew your belief in empathy, fairness, and the strength of human goodness. It is a fresh October day in Providence Municipal Court, and Judge Frank Caprio is getting ready for what would unknowingly be his final week serving. At 84 years of age, Judge Caprio has adjudicated countless cases with the identical empathy and insight that earned him global affection. The court is filled, as always, a combination of accused persons, relatives, court personnel, and even some spectators who journeyed from other areas just to see Judge Caprio's famous kindness firsthand. There is a feeling in the space, an anticipation that something significant is imminent. Precisely at 10:30 a.m., the officer escorts in the day's last matter, a theft accusation that appears standard in the files. But as we will learn, every aspect of this situation is out of the ordinary. Through the courtroom entrance walks an 84-year-old man called Edward Eddie Sullivan. Eddie advances gradually with discomfort, leaning on a handmade stick fashioned from a tree limb. His attire consists of tiers of aged garments, mended repeatedly, illustrating a life spent homeless for an extended period. But what draws every eye is not Eddie himself. It is the object he drags after him, an aged shopping cart draped with a blue plastic sheet holding what seems to be his entire earthly belongings. Eddie is present because 3 days prior, he was discovered removing a loaf of bread from a local shop without payment. The shop owner contacted the authorities, and now Eddie confronts a theft charge that might lead to imprisonment. But everyone, before I reveal the astonishing finding Judge Caprio is on the verge of making, I require you to perform a task for me. Inform me in the comments section below your current viewing location. This story should be known globally. Are you in Chicago, London, Sydney, Miami? Share your city below, because Judge Caprio's heritage of kindness must scattered all over. As Eddie nears the defendant's position, Judge Caprio quickly observes a detail that many would overlook. Even with Eddie's clear destitution and lack of housing, he preserves a sense of honor. He takes off his old baseball cap politely, stands as upright as his elderly frame permits, and looks directly at the judge. "Edward Patrick Sullivan," the court clerk declares, reading from the court record, and Eddie moves forward, holding his improvised cane with one hand and resting the other on his shopping cart, as though guarding something valuable. Judge Caprio lifts his gaze from his documents with those compassionate eyes that have offered grace to countless individuals throughout his 3-decade tenure. He instantly feels that this is not merely another theft case. "Mr. Sullivan, you are accused of theft, specifically taking a loaf of bread priced at $249 from Murphy's Corner Store. What is your plea?" Softly. "Guilty here, Your Honor," Eddie states quietly, his tone bearing the seriousness of a person who's endured things most of us cannot conceive. "I took the bread. I was hungry." Judge Caprio puts down his pen, that well-known gesture that indicates he's going to go past the legal procedures into something more personal. "Mr. Sub, can you explain your situation? Why could you not purchase the bread?" Eddie looks around the crowded courtroom, then back at Judge Caprio. "Your Honor, I have been without a home for 8 years now. I reside on the streets, attempt to find employment when possible. But at my age, work is scarce." Judge Caprio's face becomes even gentler. "Mr. Sullivan, may I inquire your age?" 84, Your Honor. Same as you." I think this holds Judge Caprio. Abruptly, 2 84-year-old men, born in the same period, but experiencing completely different existences. One, esteemed and admired, seated on the judge's bench. The other, without shelter and starving, appearing before him as a defendant. Pensive. "Truly, we are the same age. Mr. Sullivan, can you tell me, did you serve our nation?" Eddie's stance became a bit straighter with pride. "Yes, Your Honor. United States Army, Korea, 1952 to 1954. Then Vietnam, 1968 to 1970. 2 deployments. And folks, if you're already sensing the gravity of this account, an 84-year-old homeless veteran, the same age as Judge Caprio, taking bread to live, please press that like button. This account embodies everything that is both flawed and wonderful about our system, and your interaction assists stories such as this to get to the individuals who should hear them. Judge Caprio rises from his seat. His characteristic action, when something moves him profoundly, he moves around to the front, removing the official separation between judge and defendant. "Mr. Sullivan, Eddie, you served in 2 conflicts." "Yes, Your Honor. I was 19 when I departed for Korea. Returned, believed I was finished with war. Then Vietnam occurred, and they summoned us again." Judge Caprio sees that Eddie continues to keep one shielding hand on his shopping cart during the entire discussion. "Eddie, I need to inquire, what is inside the cart?" Eddie's whole attitude shifts. He tightens his hold on the cart handle and, for the first instance, he appears truly troubled. "Your Honor, these are private belongings. Nothing unlawful. Simply objects important to me." Judge Caprio's instincts, sharpened by years of understanding individuals, indicate something meaningful is present. "Eddie, would you be willing to reveal the cart's contents? I am not inquiring as a judge presently. I am asking as another person concerned with your narrative." Eddie glances around the courtroom at the over 40 spectators observing this interaction. His hand trembles a bit as he peruses the appeal. "Your Honor, individuals may believe I am insane when they view what is inside. Eddie, I have served in this court for 3 decades. I have witnessed all manner of things, and I've never considered anyone insane for valuing something profoundly. Please show us." Eddie inhales deeply and gradually draws back the blue cover over his shopping cart. What the courtroom witnesses halts everyone completely. The shopping cart is packed with numerous photos, letters, military papers, and small personal effects, dog tags, a Purple Heart Award, service ribbons, and what looks like a well-preserved military diary. But that is not the startling aspect. As Eddie gently raises some of the pictures, Judge Caprio's eyes open wide in astonishment. "Eddie, are these—" "Yes, Your Honor. Each soldier from my unit who did not return Korea and Vietnam. I have been transporting their images and their histories for more than 70 years. The courtroom becomes completely quiet. Eddie starts lifting out photo after photo, monochrome images from Korea, colored pictures from Vietnam, youthful faces, many just past adolescence, gazing at the camera with the blend of courage and apprehension that characterizes troops entering battle. This is Private Tommy Chen from San Francisco, 19 years old when he perished at Chosin Reservoir. He would show me images of his younger sister and discuss instructing her to drive upon his return. Judge Caprio steps nearer, and as he does, Eddie keeps taking out additional photos and documents. This is Sergeant Mike Rodriguez from El Paso. He intended to marry his high school love when we returned from Korea, wrote her a letter each day. He died while transporting 3 of his injured men to safety. And this, Eddie states, his voice starting to break, is Lieutenant James Morrison from Maine, 22 years old. He preserved my life in Vietnam by covering a grenade. His final words to me were, "Inform my mother I died remembering her apple pie." As Eddie proceeds displaying photographs and recounting tales, individuals in the courtroom start weeping. These are not merely old images. They are a traveling memorial kept by a man who will not allow his comrades to be erased. Your Honor, I understand that others view me as merely an eccentric, elderly, homeless individual with a cart loaded with discarded items. But these young men, they are worthy of being recalled. Their relatives are entitled to learn that an individual still preserves their legacy. Judge Caprio's eyes well up as the extent of Eddie's 70-year dedication becomes evident. "Eddie, how many servicemen's accounts are you preserving?" 437, Your Honor. Each name, each face, each narrative I can recall. I possess the letters they sent home, their decorations, their personal items that their families never retrieved. I have served as their protector for 70 years. But Eddie has more to share. He reaches into the most concealed section of his cart and retrieves a tattered notebook, its borders worn from years of use. This is their volume, Your Honor. Every account I managed to uncover, every particular regarding their lives and their passing, I have been composing it for 70 years, supplementing it each time I discover new information about one of my boys. Judge Caprio accepts the notebook with solemn hands and starts to read. His look shifts from astonishment to reverence to something akin to veneration. "Eddie, this is a masterwork of commemoration. You have produced the most thorough tribute to overlooked heroes I have ever encountered." But what Judge Caprio reads next in the notebook halts him entirely. "Eddie, it indicates here that you have been locating families of deceased soldiers and giving back their personal belongings. How many families have you located?" "More than 200, Your Honor. Occasionally it requires years, but I locate them. I present them with their son's final correspondence, or his decoration, or a photograph he kept. I inform them how courageous their boy was, how deeply he was cherished by his comrades." Judge Caprio understands he is observing a man who has dedicated 70 years to assisting others, honoring the deceased, and consoling the living, all while residing in destitution himself. "Eddie, you have been without a home for 8 years. "Yes, sir. I lost my residence when my veteran disability was terminated because of a documentation mistake. I have been residing on the street since that time, but I always keep the cart with me,
These boys require someone to protect them. And folks, I need to stop here because what you are observing is the most beautiful gesture of service and remembrance you will ever witness. If you are not subscribed to this channel yet, please press that button immediately. Accounts like Eddie's show us what genuine heroism appears as, and your backing aids us in distributing these amazing human stories globally. Regrettably, Judge Frank Caprio died just 2 weeks following Eddie's hearing, rendering it his ultimate demonstration of empathy from the bench. But what a manner to include a storied career of service to humankind. Judge Caprio's relatives expressed that Eddie's case symbolized all that their father stood for, that every individual merits respect, that serving others is the noblest purpose, and that empathy can transform the world. At Judge Caprio's memorial service, Eddie Sullivan was granted a position of distinction in the front row. He carried with him a picture of Judge Caprio, which he included in his memorial collection. Eddie expressed to those gathered, "Judge Caprio rescued me and paid tribute to my sons. Now he is also part of the memorial." And everyone, I wish to pose a question that I am certain Judge Caprio would have wanted me to ask. In the comment section, share with us about an individual in your life who merits acknowledgement for their humble assistance to people. Who were the unrecognized champions in your area? Who are the individuals creating an impact without seeking gratitude? Judge Frank Caprio dedicated 3 decades demonstrating to us that empathy is a decision we make each day. Eddie Sullivan dedicated 70 years demonstrating that affection and memory can endure any challenge. Before you scroll away, take a moment to share your thoughts below, because Judge Frank Caprio's legacy doesn't live only in the courtroom. It lives in us, in every small act of kindness, in every decision to listen before judging, in every moment when compassion outweighs convenience. If this story touched your heart, if Judge Caprio's compassion reminded you that justice still has a pulse, then share this video with someone who needs to believe that goodness still exists. Like this video if
You stand for honoring our veterans, helping the homeless, and treating every soul with dignity. Subscribe now, because here, on Case Closed, we don't just tell courtroom stories. We celebrate the people who choose empathy over ego, mercy over might, and humanity over everything else. Judge Frank Caprio taught the world that justice isn't about power. It's about presence. It's about seeing the human being standing before you, not the mistake they made. And though his voice may have quieted, his lessons echo louder than ever. Because true fairness doesn't live in law books. It lives in hearts willing to care. Rest peacefully, Judge Caprio. Your kindness changed lives, your empathy built bridges, and your spirit will keep reminding the world that real justice has a heartbeat.